Number 5. Most expensive cruise ship disasters. From the dramatic side of a colossal cruise ship tipping over after hitting a rock to the terrifying moment when passengers had to jump overboard due to a fire off the coast of New Jersey. Here are 5 of the most expensive cruise ship disasters in history. Number 1. Carnival Splendor, 2010. Let's start with the Carnival Splendor, operated by Carnival Cruise Line. On November 8, 2010, this cruise ship encountered serious problems during its voyage from Long Beach to the Mexican Riviera. Just 2 days into the cruise, a catastrophic failure occurred when one of the diesel generators in the engine room caught fire. The fire quickly spread to the electrical cables, leaving the entire ship without power. In the olden days, when ships relied on sails, losing electricity wouldn't have been a significant issue. But for modern cruise ships, it's a major problem. Fortunately, the fire was extinguished swiftly, and no injuries were reported. However, the damage had already been done. The ship, carrying 4,500 passengers, was left stranded in the water without any means of restoring power to the engines. As a result, the ship had to be towed back to California by a tugboat. The absence of power also meant there was no air conditioning or refrigeration on board. The passengers of this ill-fated cruise had to be provided with food in alternative ways. The Navy landed helicopters on the ship and distributed rations to sustain the passengers. When the military becomes involved in a cruise, it's a clear sign that things aren't going well. All passengers were fully refunded for their tickets and travel expenses and received a voucher for a free cruise. It makes you wonder how many of them took up the offer, considering their previous experience. Rumor has it that this incident cost Carnival around $100 million. Number 2. Costa Concordia, 2012. Fires are not the only dangers cruise ships face. On January 13, 2012, the Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia discovered a much more expensive way to damage a boat while sailing on a planned 7-day cruise. The captain made a fatal mistake by deviating from the course to sail closer to the island of Giglio. This ill-fated decision led the ship to collide with an underwater rock, causing it to capsize and partially sink just off the coast. A 6-hour rescue operation managed to save almost everyone on board, but tragically 33 people lost their lives in this incident. How can such a catastrophic failure happen despite the advanced technology of modern ships? An investigation blamed the crew, particularly the captain, Francesco Schettino, for deviating from the course. Furthermore, he abandoned ship at the first sign of danger, leaving everyone else on board. Schettino was later found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 16 years in prison. Costa Cruises and their parent company Carnival did not face any criminal charges. The ship was deemed a constructive total loss by the cruise line's insurance company, and its subsequent salvage operation was one of the largest in maritime history. The Concordia was refloated by attaching flotation tanks to its sides and then towed 200 miles back to its home port of Genoa, where it was eventually scrapped. The entire process took 5 years, and the total cost of the disaster, including compensation for the victims, refloating, towing, salvaging, and scrapping, is estimated to have reached approximately $2 billion. Number 3. Carnival Triumph. Let's move on to the Carnival Sunrise, formerly known as Carnival Triumph. This cruise ship has had its fair share of unfortunate incidents. In 2013, a fire broke out in the aft engine room, which was fortunately extinguished by the automatic fire extinguisher system, and no injuries were reported. However, the ship lost all power, and to make matters worse, raw sewage began to back up in the passenger deck areas. Not only did this create an incredible foul smell, but it also posed a significant health hazard. The media quickly dubbed this incident the poop cruise, highlighting the unfortunate circumstances. It's moments like these that make you question the saying, "There's no such thing as bad press." Originally, tugboats were meant to tow the ship to the Mexican port of Progreso. However, strong ocean currents unexpectedly carried the Carnival Sunrise so far north that it ended up docking in Alabama instead. Recognizing the need to address the recurring engine fire issue, Carnival announced a comprehensive fleet-wide review of all their ships. They took measures to install backup generators on every vessel, a step that many would argue should have been in place already. This extensive review and the necessary repairs resulted in the cancellation of a significant number of voyages, further impacting the cruise line. But the misfortunes didn't end there for the Carnival Sunrise. While docked in Alabama, the ship was hit by unusually strong winds, causing it to break free from its moorings and collide with the United States Army Corps of Engineers vessel, Dredge Wheeler. The collision left a substantial 20-foot gash on the stern of the ship. Additionally, the wind caused a guard shack on the dock to collapse, tragically resulting in the loss of one person's life, while another was fortunate enough to be rescued. All these incidents, including the subsequent repairs, cost Carnival a staggering $80 million. Number 4. MTS Oceanus. Now let's delve into the tragic final voyage of the cruise ship MTS Oceanus. This French-built ship had sailed for many years before meeting its untimely end. In 1991, Captain Yanni Souverain, a seasoned seaman with 30 years of experience, encountered a severe storm that wreaked havoc on board. The conditions became so treacherous that waiters were unable to carry food to the passenger stables. As the night progressed, the storm intensified, and a series of freak waves violently crashed into the ship. The Oceanus began taking on water, resulting in a loss of power. Soon, the ship was adrift, at the mercy of the tumultuous ocean. Surprisingly, no alarms or announcements had been made to inform the passengers of the unfolding situation. Eventually, concerned passengers made their way to the bridge, only to find it completely deserted, an alarming realization for those on board. One of the entertainers took charge and used the radio to broadcast a distress call, prompting rescue helicopters and lifeboats to be dispatched. Fortunately, all passengers were rescued, and the majority of them were saved from this perilous situation. Interestingly, there exists a dedicated website, oceanosinking.com, solely focused on this event, created by Moss Hills, one of the entertainers who played a significant role in the rescue effort. The website provides detailed accounts and first-hand information about the sinking. The reasons behind Hill's continued maintenance of the website remain unknown, adding a mysterious element to the aftermath of the disaster. Number 5. SS Morro Castle, 1934. Lastly, we come to the tragic tale of the SS Morro Castle, a luxurious ocean liner that gained popularity even during the challenging times of the Great Depression. On the night of September 5, 1934, disaster struck as the ship caught fire and ran aground while en route from Cuba to New York. This tragic event claimed the lives of 137 passengers and crew members. Curiously, the captain of the SS Morro Castle had passed away unexpectedly the day before the disaster, adding a bizarre twist to the ship's ill-fated journey. At around 2:50 a.m., a fire was detected in a storage locker, rapidly spreading and engulfing the entire vessel. Unfortunately, rescue efforts from the Coast Guard were delayed, leaving passengers and crew members in a desperate and harrowing situation. As the fire raged, the deck became scorching hot and the smoke made it difficult to breathe. Passengers and crew members faced an impossible choice: endure the unbearable conditions on deck or brave the choppy waters and jump overboard. Incredibly, only 6 out of the 12 lifeboats on board were launched, leaving many questions unanswered as to why the others were not utilized when there was ample space for everyone. Thankfully, rescue boats eventually arrived, managing to save most people on board. The burnt-out shell of the SS Morro Castle eventually ran aground off the coast of Asbury Park, New Jersey. Despite an extensive investigation into the cause of the fire, no definite answer was ever found. The ship was declared a total loss, and the estimated cost of this devastating disaster in 1934 was over $4 million. While the previous cruise ship disasters were indeed significant, none compares to the infamous tragedy of the Titanic. The Titanic was a marvel of its time, a grand vessel considered the largest ship in the world when it was constructed, requiring a staggering 600 tons of coal per day to operate and manned by a crew of 176. The Titanic set sail on April 10, 1912. However, just 5 days into its maiden voyage, tragedy struck. On the night of April 15th, the Titanic struck an iceberg, leading to a slow and agonizing descent into the icy depths of the ocean. Over the course of 2 hours, the ship took on water, ultimately succumbing to its watery grave. The majority of those on board perished either as a direct result of the sinking or due to the freezing temperatures of the ocean water. Ironically, the very day the Titanic collided with the iceberg was the scheduled date for a lifeboat emergency drill on board. However, for reasons still unknown, the captain chose to cancel the drill. Many speculate that if the drill had taken place, more lives could have been saved. This catastrophic event shook the world and left a lasting imprint on maritime history. Since these devastating disasters, we have made significant strides in shipbuilding technology and safety protocols. Lessons learned from these tragedies have led to improved ship designs, advanced safety measures, and rigorous training for crew members. The aim is to prevent such catastrophic events from occurring again and ensure the safety of all those who embark on sea voyages. These cruise ship disasters serve as reminders of the importance of safety measures, preparedness, and continuous improvements in ship design and technology. The financial costs associated with these tragedies are significant, but the loss of lives and the impact of those affected are immeasurable. The maritime industry must remain committed to prioritizing safety and learning from the past to ensure the well-being of all who embark on these extraordinary voyages.